So we're just a week away from less than a week away from Rosh Hashanah. So we'll learn some of the halachot of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah has quite a few halachot. We aren't going to learn the halachot of blowing the shofar, since we usually don't blow the shofar, and we assume that the person blowing the shofar, he knows his job, and if not, the rabbi there takes care of it and how much you have to blow, and so we assume that we are yotzei dei chova. So we'll skip these halachot. We'll learn halachot which we meet every Rosh Hashanah. So we will skip between the different chapters of the Shulchan Aruch. So we won't learn about which chazan should we choose, which cantor, because in any case we don't choose him. He's there already, probably been there for years. So we'll begin from the prayers of Rosh Hashanah. Only a few halachot about the prayers of Rosh Hashanah. And the 10 days. So the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we have a few changes we do in the prayer, in the Amidah prayer. And the first and probably most important change, in the third blessing, we say Melech HaKadosh instead of Ha'el HaKadosh, right? So you say Melech HaKadosh instead of Ha'el HaKadosh. And probably that's the most important difference, because a person who forgot and said Ha'el HaKadosh, he needs to repeat the davening. And since all of the three first blessings are considered as one, he needs to go back to the beginning. So if a person said Ha'el HaKadosh, like he says always, and instead of saying HaMelech HaKadosh, and he continued to the next blessing, he needs to repeat and go back to the beginning. If you remember right away, to the beginning of Shmoneh Esrei. If he realized in just like a second, it's called Halacha Toch Kedei Dibur, a very short amount. You can say just three words. The Baruch Atah Hashem Ha'el HaKadosh, HaMelech HaKadosh. So that's fine. That's fine. That's probably the most important difference. On the weekdays, in those 10, so in the weekdays between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, so we have 7 weekdays, right? Actually, it's 6 weekdays. Sunday, this year it happens to be Sunday to Friday. We say in the bracha of Melech Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat, we say HaMelech HaMishpat. Also there we say HaMelech HaMishpat. According to the Shulchan Aruch, if a person forgot and said Melech Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat, like the regular blessing, so also he needs to repeat and go to the beginning of that blessing. That's according to the Shulchan Aruch. The Rama holds that if a person said the Melech Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat, the king who loves or who likes tzedakah, like giving, justice and justice. So since he said the word Melech, the word king, so he does not need to repeat his prayer. So since we're Ashkenazim here, we hold like the Rama. So if a person said the regular thing of Melech Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat, he does not need to repeat and go back to the beginning of the prayer. Or to the beginning of that blessing. We have a few more other extra things we add. We have Zochenu Lechaim, like it says in the Siddur. We have we have different things we add, and these things, if a person forgot them, so he does not need to repeat the prayer. So if a person forgot Uktov Lechaim Tovim Kol Bnei Beritecha or Zochenu Lechaim or the other things we add, he does not need to repeat the prayer. So that's Siman Taf Kuf Beibet 582 about things that we add in the prayer. My son, he's waiting, like I think all kids, they're waiting for the apple and honey, right? Dip the apple in the honey. I don't remember how the songs go. Maybe you can help us. But make the bracha loud and clear, right? So that's, you had it also in your days when you were that's I thought it's not new. Okay, so you dip the apple in the honey and eat the rimon, the pomegranate, and different things that we eat. So these things are mentioned in the Gemara. It has a source of it in the Gemara. It's not an obligation. It's a minhag. It's a very nice custom to do it. So we eat different things, like different families have different customs. Apple, honey, dates, beets. People use celery sometimes in the States, carrots, the different green beans, different things which people have in the minhag. Some try to find the ancient green beans that they had in the past. They aren't so tasty. There's a reason why we eat the green beans we have today and not the ancient ones. Some people eat the ancient zucchinis, kara, or pumpkin. I'm not sure even what it is that they had in the past, and it's not so tasty. So, but that's why we have other things. But it's a nice thing to eat, and the main part is maybe the prayer, which is the Yehi Ratzon. So if a person doesn't have carrots, so you can say Yehi Ratzon, Shigzor Aleinu Gzorot Tovot. If a person doesn't like to eat head of fish heads, and he can't stand the fish head at the table, so he'll say Yehi Ratzon Sheniyeh leRosh v'lo lezanav. We don't have to eat it, but there is a matter of eating it. We feel it more. We connect to it more. We feel the prayer more. Like we change ourselves a bit while eating it. So there's an idea for eating it. But if people don't have it, so it's fine. I think mainly Sfaradim have the custom of eating a lamb head. Then it also reminds of Akedat Yitzchak. But as I said, what the customs, that's all of them are nice and great. We have an interesting question. What do we eat first? Do we eat the dates first, or do we eat the apples and the honey? And the reason for eating the dates first is that they are in the Shivat Aminim, they are in the 7 species. And we have a rule that if a person has a few different foods, the same bracha, he should say the bracha on the fruit, which is from the Shivat Aminim, from the 7 species. And so the dates should be the first ones. On the other hand, many people, especially kids, maybe also adults, apples and honey. That's a symbol of Rosh Hashana, apple and honey. So they like it the most. And if you have good honey, so the apple is just a way to dip to eat more honey. So it's chaviv, something which I like more. And we have an argument in the Gemara, in the Mishnah, between Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim, when we have two different kinds of food, many different kinds of food. What do we say the bracha on? Do we say the bracha on what I like the most? And for most people, it will be apples and honey. Or do we say on the bracha on something from Shivat Aminim? So there's an argument. What we do in our family, one night we say the bracha on the dates. The other night we don't bring the dates to the table. We leave the dates in the kitchen. We say the bracha of the 8th on the apples and the honey, and then we bring the dates to the table afterwards. So that's just about the bracha, and it's interesting. I'm skipping actually quite a bit. As we said, we'll skip the halachot of the shofar and how to do the shofar, and we'll just mention one halacha of the shofar. In the mitzvot, we have a rule that at least lechatchila, but probably also b'diavad, we should try and have in mind to be yotzei yedei chova. When we do a mitzvah, we should have in mind to fulfill the mitzvah. It's not just an action we do. A mitzvah is part of us. So we should have in mind to be yotzei, to fulfill the mitzvah. Now, the poskim say, the rabbis say that even if you don't have in mind to fulfill the mitzvah, but we assume that you had in mind to fulfill the mitzvah, so it's fine. For example, someone who puts on tefillin. Obviously, if you ask him now, what are you doing? He'll say, well, I'm doing the mitzvah of putting tefillin. Did now he have in mind, I now am doing the mitzvah of putting on tefillin? Maybe yes, maybe not. When someone shakes a lulav, we ask him, what are you doing now? Oh, I'm doing the mitzvah of shaking lulav. Do we ask him, did you actually now have in mind to do the mitzvah? He said the bracha, I don't know. We say, when a person does a mitzvah and he comes to shul, and we assume he had in mind to do the mitzvah. In shofar, it's a bit more tricky, because shofar is a passive mitzvah. It's one of the only mitzvot we are passive while doing it. Okay, so according to most rabbis, the mitzvah of the shofar is just to be passive, to listen. That's the mitzvah of shofar, to listen. And we are passive, and the person, we can ask, what are you doing here? I might be walking around, I might be staying in shul. So when we hear the shofar, we should have in mind, we are now doing the mitzvah of hearing the shofar. Just have it in mind. Have in mind to listen to the blessings, listen to the brachot, and be yotzei in the mitzvah. If a person didn't have in mind to fulfill the mitzvah, so say if he came to shul and he's standing there and he says all the verses beforehand, obviously he had in mind to do the mitzvah. But if a person was outside and not necessary, so he should have in mind to do the mitzvah.
So if a person's walking by and he happens to hear the shofar, Has he fulfilled the mitzvah?
No, so he has to have in mind to hear the.
He has to
Has to have it in mind.
intention.
Yeah, the intention. Intention. I'm now hearing the mitzvah. Okay. I think we have here in the shul one of the questions in the shul. Where do you daven on Rosh Hashanah? The early minyan or the regular minyan?
Sometimes here, because my grandson is here, and sometimes not.
So there's a question about kiddush. Do we do a kiddush on Rosh Hashanah? Right, and that comes from the question: are we allowed to fast on Rosh Hashanah? Yeah, we're allowed to fast on Rosh Hashanah. So it's actually something interesting. If you look at the Torah, we have in Sukkot, we have a song, "V'samachta b'chagecha," right? So it says in the Torah on Sukkot twice to be happy. "V'samachta b'chagecha." The Torah continues a few more words, and then the Torah says, "V'ayita ach sameach." You should be only happy. And on Shavuot also it says you should be happy on Shavuot. And Pesach it does not say happiness, but we understand that all of the three regalim, all the three holidays that people used to go up to Jerusalem, all of them have happiness in them. So it's all of them, right? So also on Pesach we have a mitzvah to be happy. On Rosh Hashanah, it does not say to be happy, at least not in the Torah. So do we have to be happy on Rosh Hashanah? Now, being happy, part of how do you measure happiness? You can't say to someone, okay, now be happy. The way a person is happy is he eats. And by the action of happiness, a person feels happy. It's interesting that we find how do you do something? How do you feel something? Do it and you'll feel it, right? Maybe that's where Nike got the slogan, just do it. Yeah, do it and you can feel that you'll do it. So act like you are happy and then you will feel that you are happy. So although it doesn't say in the Torah, "V'samachta b'chagecha," to be happy on Rosh Hashanah, the rabbis still understand that there still is a mitzvah to be happy in it. We do not mention simcha in the prayer, right? In the prayer of Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, we mention Zman Simchatenu, the time of us happy, of being happy. We don't mention that on Rosh Hashanah, but there's still, Chazal understood there is a meaning of being happy. And the rabbis understood that the Samachta B'chagecha applies to all of the holidays, all of the Yom Tov. The same as on Rosh Hashanah, you can't drive on Rosh Hashanah, like you can't drive on Sukkot, you can't drive on Pesach. The same rules of happiness also apply to Rosh Hashanah. Not only that, there's a very interesting story in Ezra and Nehemiah. Ezra and Nehemiah, the nation was in exile in Babylon for quite a few years, for more than 70 years, because the exile started before the destruction of the temple, and then even after the temple was after they started to build the temple again, many people stayed in the diaspora, maybe like today, and it took them time to make Aliyah, like today. And when they made Aliyah, maybe perhaps like after 70 years of communism, so people who came from Russia didn't know anything, and you can't blame them. They couldn't learn. So people couldn't learn also, and didn't know, some of them didn't know nothing. For example, they open the Sefer Torah and they find there's a holiday called Sukkot. Okay, there's Sukkot. What do we do? So we have to build a sukkah. But they didn't know because they didn't grow up building Sukkot. And there's an interesting story there in Nehemiah, the 8th chapter, Perek Chet, about them learning on Rosh Hashanah, and them crying on Rosh Hashanah, and the Nehemiah and the Levim, the Levites, who told them Torah, told them, no, today is a special day. And he says, "Ichlu mashmanim ushtu mamtakim ki kadosh hayom le'adonenu ve'al te'atzvu ki chedvat Hashem ima'odchem." Or in English, go and eat fat food, eat those nice pieces of steak, and drink sweet drinks. And continues on, because this day is a holy day for Hashem, and don't be sad, don't cry, because the joy with Hashem, being joyful with Hashem, this is your strength. We can see something very interesting. Being joyful with Hashem, that gives us strength. Maybe it's the whole way of Rosh Hashanah, of being joyful with Hashem, and that happens on Rosh Hashanah. So on Rosh Hashanah, they'll tell them, today, it's not a day of crying. Today is a day of joy, of happiness, and that connects you closer to Hashem. That is part of tshuva. We say that Rosh Hashanah is a day of anointing the king. I'm sure if you come to anoint the king and everyone is crying, and that's not how you anoint the king. You anoint the king, okay, it's something new and special, and maybe even a bit of fear or awe, but in the end, it's a happy day. When you anoint the king, in the end, it's a happy day. And that's what it should be. So we have also a mitzvah of simcha, of happiness on Rosh Hashanah. And therefore, we shouldn't fast on Rosh Hashanah. If we shouldn't fast on Rosh Hashanah, the Shulchan Aruch here brings people who had accustomed to fast, but in any case, people, otherwise, people shouldn't fast on Rosh Hashanah.
Field are so long that.
So that brings us a question. So the field are so long, we are fasting half a day, right? Fasting half a day. We'll get to it in just a moment. Says the Mishnah Berurah, or the people who fast, so they should learn on Rosh Hashanah. If you fast already, so make it a day of learning, not a day of being in bed and resting from the fast. It should be a day of learning, a day of prayer. Okay, but we should, but otherwise we should eat. Now here comes the great question: can we fast until the middle of the day? You know, on Shabbat, that we try very much. We should do kiddush. We should eat something before chatzot, before the middle of the day. And therefore, when we have a long prayer on Shabbat, usually we don't have a long prayer on Shabbat, so we should do kiddush before the middle of the day. And what about Rosh Hashanah? On Rosh Hashanah, can you fast until after the middle of the day? When we say you shouldn't fast, it means the whole day you shouldn't fast, or you should even until the middle of the day you shouldn't fast, or maybe you can fast until the middle of the day, as long as you eat afterwards. There's a proof that some of the rabbis bring from Ezra and Nehemiah, which we just mentioned beforehand. They say to them there, go and eat, go and drink. Today is a happy day for Hashem. Being eating and happy with Hashem, that actually brings you strength. Hashem, the joy of Hashem, that's your strength. But there, on the first half of the day, they ate. They ate. And the first half of the day, they learned and they prayed. They ate only on the second half of the day. So you can see I have a proof from here that perhaps maybe on Rosh Hashanah, it's not like a regular Yom Tov. It's not like a regular holiday or Shabbat. You can fast for the first half of the day. And that maybe it's like a compromise. On one hand, in the Torah, it does not say simcha. It doesn't say happiness in the Torah. On the other hand, our sages say, yeah, the happiness also applies to Rosh Hashanah. So it's like a compromise. The first half of the day, you can fast. The second half of the day, you should eat. But many shuls have a custom when the prayer is so long to have a kiddush between Shachrit and Musaf. So it's a custom in many prayers, shuls to have a kiddush, and you shouldn't have a big kiddush, just a taste, a bite, so we can eat. You can eat and not fast on the day. And there's a question: do you have to do kiddush? Don't have to do kiddush? Perhaps maybe today we have another reason why to do a kiddush, and today we are a bit more, I wouldn't say weak, but the ways we have changed. In the past, they used to have 2 meals a day. That's it. They used to eat 2 meals a day. One was a few hours after they got up, and one was 2 hours when they went to sleep. They ate only 2 meals a day. So they were used to, instead of eating at 10 or 11, I'll eat at 12. Okay, I'll eat at 1. It's fine. Today, we are used to by 12 already. We are in our second meal, right? We had the breakfast, and then we have lunch. Some of us, if we are hobbits, right? So we have 6 meals a day, right? We'll have breakfast, and then a snack in between, and then lunch, and then the tea, and then a snack in between. And then, so today we are used to eating much more often. And many people, they find it very hard to daven when they didn't have a bite. Okay, well, some people, I didn't have my cup of coffee. How can I daven without a cup of coffee? So maybe that's another reason why people can do the Kiddush today, although maybe you can fast for the first half of the day. But because we daven, it's easier for us to daven and to be part and happy with davening and sing in davening and really feel Rosh Hashanah if we eat beforehand, but it shouldn't be a feast. Okay, we shouldn't make the fast into a feast. Okay, it should be the Kiddush, eating a small amount and then continuing with the prayers. Okay, so that's about eating and fasting on Rosh Hashanah, and we're continuing to the second day of Rosh Hashanah. And then, if we have time, we'll go back to some of the rules of the Halachot of Shofar. Okay, so Rosh Hashanah is one of the special, the only holiday that also in Israel we celebrate 2 days. And the reason for that was, it's mentioned already in the times of Chazal, in the times of Mishnah, of having 2 days. It comes from the Beit HaMikdash. They wanted to make sure that they have the right song of the Levim, of the Levites. And so at that time they had 2 days. So we have this custom of having 2 days.
And also declaring the new moon.
Also declaring the new moon, always, all of the holidays are on the middle of the month. Rosh Hashanah is the only holiday which is in the beginning of the month. So you have to have the witnesses coming and saying, we saw them, we didn't see them, until they come. It might, the end of it, the day already might end, it'll be towards the end. So it made it complicated. So Chazal decided to have 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. There was probably a short period of time, about more or less 1,000 years ago, more or less, when they kept only 1 day in Israel. And the rabbis, they were quite against it, and they brought back the custom of having 2 days. Although it's 2 days, and we see it as one long day, we say in the halacha, Yom Arichta, and
halachically originally 1 day, and then times of they made it 2, and then
so originally from the Torah it's 1 day in the Torah, from Moshe Rabbeinu until the Second Temple, until towards the end of the Second Temple, it was 1 day. Okay, so for about 1,000 years, Rosh Hashanah was only 1 day. And then for different reasons in the Second Temple, they decided to make it 2 days. But yeah, originally it's 1 day. And since originally it's 1 day, and from the Torah it's only 1 day, we have a difference between the first day and the second day. On one hand, we see it as one long day, on one hand. On the other hand, each day stands for itself. Okay, well, where does it meet us? Maybe two questions. First, can I prepare something on the first day? This year will be Thursday, for the second day of Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so if it's one long day, I can prepare from the first day to the second day. It's like preparing from breakfast to lunch. Okay, but since originally it's actually 2 separate days, and only the first day is from the Torah, is Rosh Hashanah, and the second day isn't a holiday from the Torah, so we can't prepare something from the first day to the second day. Let's therefore cook, warming up the food and everything. We do it only after only after only after it's dark. So in between the first and second day, we prepare only after it's dark. This year, we continue that topic. This year we have something unique, and we have 3 days. So we have 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, and then we have Shabbat afterwards. In order to prepare from Shabbat, so from Rosh Hashanah to Shabbat, we need to do something called Eruv Tavshilin. I think we learned the Halachot, a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. If not, it's always good to remember the Halachot. And we put some food and some bread, and we have to understand also what we're saying. We say a bracha, and we say that from doing this Eruv, we'll be able to cook from today to Shabbat. And we won't go now to how it works and what's the logic behind it, but we have to do Eruv Tavshilin. Eruv Tavshilin allows us to cook from the second day to Shabbat. We can't cook from the first day to Shabbat. So we can't prepare something on the first day of Rosh Hashanah to Shabbat. Okay, so that's about Eruv Tavshilin. So that's about, we said it's 2 days. We look at it for some aspects as one long day, but it's actually 2 days. And we shouldn't prepare from the first day to the second day. Another place where we say it's a second day, when you blow the shofar, we have it on the second day, we have all the brachot on the second day. On the nighttime, we say Shechianu on the nighttime because it's like a new day. So we're saying Shechianu. But since it might be like one long day, and there is a feeling of one long day, so you don't say Shechianu. Shechianu means there's something new here. We are renewing something. If it's one long day, we say Shechianu only once, in the beginning of Rosh Hashanah. We don't say Shechianu again in the second night of Rosh Hashanah, because it's one long night. If it's 2 separate days, maybe we can say Shechianu, because it's 2 separate days. So we actually have Rosh Hashanah is something special. It's also 2 separate days and also one long day. Therefore, we say Shechianu on the second night of Rosh Hashanah, because it's 2 separate days, but we try to have something new on the table. So we can have now, I think you have clementinot or oranges. They are new in the market, and we can bring them. We can wear something new, and new clothes that you like, and you're happy on the new clothes. So wear it on the second night of Rosh Hashanah. And then when we say the blessing of Shechianu, you also have in mind to also the new fruit or the new thing that you are wearing. Okay, so that's about Shechianu. We'll mention, since we have 3 more minutes, a few of the halachot of shofar. A few of the halachot of shofar.
One question, some without.
Yeah.
During Avinu Malkeinu, you say the part about the Aseret Yemei Tshuva,
Yeah.
or the part about the song. Also...
So in Song Gedalia, we say the part of the 10 Aseret Yemei Tshuva. Aseret Yemei Tshuva. And this year, Song Gedalia is postponed. Okay, it's Song Gedalia is always the day after Rosh Hashanah. Right. This year we have Shabbat, so it's postponed to the.
So Sunday is the fast.
So Sunday is the fast. Actually, Song Gedalia is always postponed. And why is that? Because Gedalia ben Achikam was murdered on Rosh Hashanah. But we don't fast on Rosh Hashanah. So it's postponed to the days after Rosh Hashanah. So Song Gedalia, if you have a trivia question, what fast is always postponed? Like the date is, by definition, the date is postponed, and the answer is Song Gedalia. He was murdered on Rosh Hashanah, but we can't fast on Rosh Hashanah, so the fast will always be after Rosh Hashanah. About the shofar. It's about the shofar, and that's, we only have 2 minutes. Midoraita from the Torah law, it's enough to hear 9 sounds of shofar, which means 3 sets of tki'ah, tu'ah, tki'ah. Okay, 3 sets of tki'ah, tu'ah, tki'ah. From different reasons, we aren't going to go to them now. Chazal said one should hear 3 sets of tki'ah, shvarim, tu'ah, tki'ah, shvarim, tki'ah, and tki'ah, tu'ah, tki'ah. So 3 sets of, they call it 10 voices. So it's altogether 30 voices. In the beginning of the Kiyot, we hear 30 voices, and we are Yotzei Techova by the 30 voices. Lechatchila, the best way to hear the shofar is as it's connected to the prayer in Musaf. That's the best way to hear the shofar. It's part of the prayer part of Musaf. That's the best way to hear the shofar, and that's why we also blow the shofar while we daven Musaf. But they aren't dependent on each other. One can daven Musaf without hearing the shofar. One can hear the shofar without davening. Yes, so if although it's better to combine them, and Melchiot and Zichronot and Shefarot, as we are part of the prayer, we bring it up, we lift it up with the sound of the shofar, but they aren't necessarily connected. They aren't dependent on each other. And if someone can come to shul, he can hear just 30 voices without the prayer. On COVID, it happened many times. People davened by themselves, and then they gathered together outside to hear the shofar. People who for some reason can't come to shul, it's enough to hear the 30 sounds of shofar, the same amount that we hear before the davening. Yeah, so that's about the sound of the shofar. And maybe a small idea about the sound of the shofar. We said that shofar is one of the only mitzvot that we are passive. Okay? Usually we are active. We do something. We put on tefillin. We shake the lulav. We put tzitzit on. We keep Shabbat by eating. We do things. We give tzedakah. We are active. We go up to Jerusalem, to the temple. shofar is passive. And maybe sometimes here we say, okay, we can be passive, listen to the voice of Hashem calling us through the world. And by listening to Hashem calling us, we can also bring our prayer up. May the prayers come up. And Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. Thanks, Rabbi.